Hi, and thank you so much for joining me again. This is yet another installment in the illustration process of Mortimer Goes with the Flow, available through Pisces Rising Press. And if you're curious as to how it turned out, there is a link in the description to buy the final version. Again, for those who are just joining us, I wanted to run through the process really quickly. What I've done is basically put watercolor blotches down on paper and scan them in at a higher resolution than we would be printing at. Printing is at 300 dpi, and these have been scanned at 600 dpi. The reason it's scanned at 600 dpi is that I knew that some of these swatches were actually going to be used as the backgrounds, or depending on the layout, it was going to cover multiple fish. In that case, I wanted to have something that I could actually expand. The higher resolution, the less chance that it's going to fall apart. This whole thing is being assembled in Photoshop. As you can tell, it's a CS4 version. I do not do the cloud. I'm old, so I have like actual physical discs of things that I bought, and those are the programs I still work with. So basically, here we go, just dropping in the color of Mortimer. Mortimer is always the same exact green. I just use that swatch over and over again and cut things out. Sometimes I shift it around just to give it a different texture, but ultimately it is always the same swatch. Color of the background, the water changes as the story changes because he goes from sort of a depressed, sort of a grumpy old little fish that has always been going against the current and decides one day he's going to swim with the current, see what that's like, and it ends up being a pretty good decision. Doesn't have to waste all this energy going nowhere, and he gets to meet new people, as is explained in this page. At this point, I basically have created another layer. I paint in things white right behind the line layer. So essentially, eyes, teeth. Most fish do not have teeth, but I put, and to be honest, I don't think he has teeth in any other drawing other than this. Give him some nice choppers. And for this one, I just wanted to get really loose and sort of get back to the original concept drawings I had of what was going to be the book. And back maybe a year and a half ago, I spilled a bunch of different colored ink into a sketchbook and made these really interesting little shapes. And from there, I just took a brush pen and drew little faces inside of them. And I loved it. I loved the look. Ultimately, I wanted to have a slightly tighter appearance to the book. It did go through a period where the whole thing was just going to be random blotches, and then I was just going to draw them into shapes, but then that just seemed hard to pull off given the deadline. So it became a bit more structured. As you can see, I'm placing just different colored swatches on different fish to see, well, maybe he does look better purple. Maybe he should be red. And so from there, it was nice to just drop it in, have it really nice and loose, and sort of get back to that original concept that I had. But, I do a lot of talking here. I'm kind of curious about you guys out there. Like, what is your favorite thing to illustrate with? Is it digital? Is it watercolor? Are you really awesome at, like, oil pastel? Because if you are, then my hat is off to you, because that has always been a huge challenge for me. I think it's best I just stick with watercolor, acrylic, or digital. Yeah, and that might be the way to go for me. But let me know what you prefer to do. I'm always curious about that, and definitely leave any comments or questions. I love talking shop. I love talking about the process. And if you are curious as to see how this whole thing turns out, because as close as they look to being finalized, there is still a level of refinement that they went through. I like filling in the eyes here. Really added a lot to pop them out. And I think this again is sort of like that nice blend of the traditional techniques with the convenience of modern technology. Questions and comments will be answered as quickly as possible, if at all possible. Sometimes you just can't get around to it. Sometimes workload, meetings, all that stuff come in the way. We do apologize ahead of time if it seems like it's taken forever, but we are going to try our best to answer everything. And if you're curious as to how this turned out, please take a look at the link below in the description and get a copy. It will definitely help us out. Thank you so much for joining us, and once again, be like water, my friends.